Brother, stop scrolling for a moment, because after this, you'll never look at her the same way again. Listen carefully. The woman you love right now, the one you give your time, your loyalty, and your heart to. What if I told you there's a chance she's not really yours? What if I told you that while you're sitting here believing she's your forever, she could already be someone else's memory? Here's the cold, brutal truth most men never hear. If she shows even 3 of these 11 signs I'm about to reveal, there's a very real possibility that she's already slept with another man. And in her heart, she left you long before you ever realized it. Scary, isn't it? But you need to hear this, because loyalty doesn't disappear overnight. It fades slowly. First, she stops sharing her thoughts. Then she hides little pieces of her day. And finally, she hides parts of herself that used to belong only to you. Her late replies, her sudden mood shifts, her distance when you hold her close. It's not stress. It's not work. It's not space. Brother, it's a warning. And here's the painful part. She'll never admit it. She'll smile, hug you, and still say, I love you. But deep down, you can feel it, can't you? That quiet voice in your chest, telling you something's not right. Don't ignore it, because these 11 hidden signs are what separate men who see the truth early from men who get destroyed later. This isn't about paranoia. This isn't about controlling her. This is about protecting your heart, your time, and your future. I promise you this. If you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll learn to read her silence, decode her micro-behaviors, and understand exactly what she's really feeling, even when her words tell you the opposite. Brother, if you love her, if you've built your life around her, and if you've imagined a future with her, you cannot afford to miss this. Because after today, you'll never look at her, or at love, the same way again. So listen, take a deep breath, lock in, watch carefully, because the next few minutes could save you years of heartbreak. Point 1. Her energy changes before her words do. A woman's loyalty isn't lost overnight. It doesn't begin with cheating. It begins with energy. You see, before a woman tells you she's unhappy, before she distances herself, before she even thinks about another man, something subtle happens first. Her energy shifts. And here's the painful part. Most men don't see it. Remember those early days when you couldn't stop texting each other? She replied instantly. She laughed at your dumbest jokes. She wanted to know everything about you, your childhood, your dreams, even your scars. But now, she takes hours to respond. Her laughter feels forced. And even when she's next to you, her soul feels miles away. This isn't just about texts or calls. It's about presence. When a woman is loyal, she invests her emotions, time, and energy into you without hesitation. But when she starts pulling away, you can feel it even before she says a single word. Why does this happen? Because emotional disconnection always comes before physical disconnection. Here's where most men make a mistake. They ignore their intuition. They tell themselves, it's just stress. It's just work. It's just a phase. But let me ask you this. How many times have you ignored that quiet voice in your head, only to regret it later when the truth came out? Your intuition is your biggest weapon. Stoic philosophy teaches us that you cannot control her actions, but you can control how aware you are. And awareness is power. When you sense her energy shifting, don't accuse her. Don't panic and don't beg. Observe. Watch how she behaves when she thinks you're not paying attention. Is she more active on social media but slower to reply to you? Does she suddenly need space but always has time for her friends? Is she smiling at her phone more often but never sharing what's so funny? These small cracks in consistency are signs most men ignore. And ignoring them is the reason they end up blindsided. But here's the Stoic truth. Painful awareness is better than comfortable ignorance. Because the moment you see her energy shifting, you face a choice. Either have the hard conversation now, or suffer a bigger heartbreak later. And I know that hurts. Maybe right now you're remembering your ex. Those nights when you felt her slipping away but didn't know why. The texts you reread 100 times trying to decode what went wrong. The pain of seeing her with someone else while you were still holding on. Brother, hear me. None of that pain was wasted. Because this time you're going to be smarter. This time you won't ignore the signs. Her loyalty lives in her energy long before it shows in her actions. Learn to read it, or you'll learn it the hard way. Point 2. Her priorities quietly shift away from you. Let me ask you something. Do you remember those early days with her, when you were her favorite notification? When she'd cancel plans just to spend time with you? When she'd stay up till 3 a.m. talking about nothing and everything? Because back then you were her world. But something changed, didn't it? Now suddenly, she's too busy. She has work deadlines. She has plans with friends. She has self-care days. And yet, you notice she somehow always has time for Instagram, Netflix, and nights out with the girls. That's not just being busy, brother. That's a shift in priorities. And when a woman's priorities change, her loyalty is quietly fading long before she admits it. The harsh truth most men ignore: loyal women make you a part of their life. No matter how demanding her job is, no matter how hectic her schedule gets, she still chooses you. Because when a woman is truly invested, she finds reasons to include you, not excuses to avoid you. But when her heart starts wandering, her world reorganizes itself, and you slowly slide down her list of priorities. The texts become shorter, the calls become rarer, and that spark you once saw in her eyes, it starts to dim. And yet here's what most men do. They chase harder. They double text. They try to plan more dates. They shower her with attention, thinking it'll bring her back. But the harder you chase, the faster she runs. Why? Because loyalty isn't maintained by pressure. It's revealed by choice. The Stoic truth about priorities. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." You cannot force a woman to make you her priority. You cannot control her choices, her time, or her heart. But here's what you can control: your awareness, your standards, your reaction. When you notice her priorities shifting, you don't beg. You don't argue. You observe. Because a loyal woman doesn't need convincing. She chooses you effortlessly. She fights for time with you because she values you. So when she suddenly doesn't have time, but somehow has time for everything except you, that's not love fading by accident. That's love being redirected quietly, slowly, and painfully. How you start losing yourself. Here's where most men get trapped. They start sacrificing themselves to keep her. You cancel your plans to match her schedule. You stop seeing your friends because you're waiting on her. You lower your boundaries, thinking, if I just give her more, she'll love me again. But every time you bend, every time you chase, every time you choose her over yourself, you send her one silent message: my value depends on you. And brother, women can feel that energy, and nothing kills attraction faster than desperation. The subtle test you're failing. Here's the part most men miss. Sometimes when a woman shifts her priorities, she's testing you without even realizing it. She wants to see, will he lose himself to keep me? Will he sacrifice his boundaries just so I don't leave? Will he keep chasing me even when I give him less? And when you fail this test, respect dies, attraction fades, loyalty breaks. Because deep down she wants a man who stands firm in his purpose, a man who respects himself enough to walk away when he's no longer being valued. The emotional trigger. I know, right now you might be thinking about her. That one woman who slowly drifted away, the one who used to love you loudly but now barely notices you. You're probably replaying those nights when you waited for her texts, scrolling endlessly, wondering what you did wrong. You remember the pit in your stomach, the fear of losing her, and that constant thought, maybe if I try harder she'll stay. But let me tell you something you need to hear. You are not hard to love. You were just giving your love to someone whose priorities changed. And brother, you can't fix someone who's already checked out. The Stoic way forward. When her priorities shift away from you, you have two choices. 1. Cling to what's already fading and slowly destroy your self-worth. 2. Stand firm, maintain your dignity, and focus on your purpose. Because here's the hard truth: you don't lose loyal women. You only lose the ones who were never truly yours to begin with. And once you embrace that, the pain turns into clarity. The heartbreak turns into power. And you finally understand, your value was never defined by her attention. Point 3. Emotional distance creeps in. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the early days when she couldn't get enough of you? When she used to share every tiny detail about her day? When she'd text you, "I miss you," even when you just left an hour ago? That constant connection? That beautiful feeling of being the first person she thinks about in the morning, and the last one she talks to before bed. It felt magical, didn't it? But now, something's different. Suddenly, the deep conversations are gone. The late-night calls have stopped. The laughter isn't as effortless, and you feel it. That invisible wall slowly rising between you and her. Brother, let me tell you, this isn't random. It's not mood swings. It's a silent signal, one most men miss, that her emotional loyalty is slipping away. When love starts feeling distant. Women don't wake up one morning and decide to be disloyal. It starts quietly, almost unnoticeably. One skipped call, one forgotten good night, one sorry I'm busy. At first you convince yourself it's nothing. You tell yourself, she's just tired. She's just stressed. It's just a phase. But deep down, you feel it. That connection you once shared. It's fading, and here's the truth. When a woman starts withdrawing emotionally, it's rarely because of work stress or random excuses. It's because her heart is elsewhere, or she's preparing for an exit you don't see coming. Why emotional distance matters more than physical distance. A woman doesn't leave a man when she walks out the door. She leaves him the moment her heart detaches. Think about it. She could still be right there next to you, lying in your bed, sharing dinner, scrolling through Instagram, and yet emotionally, she's miles away. This is why emotional distance is deadlier than physical distance. Because once she stops sharing her feelings, her dreams, her fears, and her secrets with you, someone else will eventually step in to fill that space. The subtle signs you can't ignore. There are always clues and you just need to notice them. She doesn't look at you the same way anymore. Her replies are short, delayed, and cold. She no longer asks about your day, your goals, your struggles. She stops opening up about what's on her mind. The little rituals, those goodnight texts, morning calls, random I love yous mine vanish. One by one, these small signs form a bigger picture. Her emotional energy is no longer invested in you. And yet most men refuse to see it. They convince themselves it's nothing, until it's too late. The psychological trap most men fall into. When a man senses this emotional distance, his instinct is to chase harder. You text more. You call more. You plan surprises, buy gifts, and shower her with attention, hoping to pull her back. But here's the paradox. The more you chase, the more she retreats. Why? Because attraction doesn't grow under pressure, it grows under space. By overinvesting while she's detaching, you create an imbalance, and she subconsciously loses respect for you. The Stoic approach to emotional distance. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." You cannot control her feelings. You cannot force her to open up. You cannot drag her back into love. But you can control how you respond. The Stoic way is simple. Observe, don't react. Listen more than you speak. Match her energy. Don't overcompensate. When she pulls away, you don't chase. You hold your ground. Because here's the reality. If she truly values you, she'll fight to rebuild that connection. But if she doesn't, then emotional distance was never the problem. Her loyalty was. Ask yourself the hard questions. Let me ask you something deeply personal. When was the last time she opened up to you? When was the last time she really listened to you? When was the last time she made you feel like her safe place? If you're struggling to remember, that's your sign. You can't build intimacy without emotional vulnerability, and if she shut you out, then she's no longer investing in the relationship, at least not in the same way you are. Your next move determines everything. When emotional distance creeps in, you only have two choices. One, lower your standards and keep chasing her attention, and lose yourself in the process. Two, raise your standards, set boundaries, and focus on being the man who commands respect. Because here's the truth. A woman can't emotionally abandon a man who's deeply grounded in his purpose, but she'll drift away from a man who abandons himself to keep her, turning pain into power. I know it hurts, brother. I know it feels like you're losing her. Like no matter what you do, she's slowly slipping through your fingers. But instead of chasing her love, start reclaiming your own. When you rebuild your purpose, when you invest in yourself, when you become the man who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't settle, everything changes. You'll either pull her back naturally, or you'll attract someone who sees your value without hesitation. Either way, you win. Point 4. She starts hiding her world from you. Let me ask you a simple but painful question. Do you still know her world the way you used to?
In the beginning, she shared everything with you, didn't she?
Her dreams, her insecurities, her late-night thoughts, Every little detail of her day, even the smallest things that didn't matter to anyone else. She wanted you to know them. That's because women naturally share with the man they're deeply connected to. When a woman values you, she invites you into her world, but now, it feels like you're slowly being locked out, doesn't it? The silence speaks louder than words. At first, it starts with little things. She stops telling you where she's going. She no longer shares who she's with. She avoids talking about her plans. You notice her phone suddenly faces down on the table. Her Instagram stories stop featuring you. Her schedule becomes busy, but you don't know why or with whom. You ask, "What's wrong?" And she replies, "Nothing, I'm just tired." Brother, that's not tiredness. That's emotional detachment. And one of the clearest hidden signs she may no longer be fully loyal to you. Why women start hiding things. Here's what most men don't understand. Women don't suddenly start hiding their world without a reason. There are 3 psychological triggers behind this shift. 1, she's emotionally checked out. When she no longer sees you as her safe place, she stops sharing her truth with you. 2, she's comparing you to someone else. If there's another man she's investing emotional energy into, you'll notice she becomes mysterious and secretive around you. 3, she's testing you. Sometimes she'll deliberately hide things to see your reaction, to test your composure, your masculinity, and whether you lose control when you feel left out. This is where most men fail. They panic, confront her aggressively, and end up pushing her further away. The danger of overreacting. When you sense secrecy, your first instinct is to demand answers, right? You want to know where she is, who she's talking to, why she's being distant. But here's the paradox. The more desperate you sound, the more she shuts down. Because to a woman, neediness equals weakness. And when a man starts acting insecure, she begins to lose respect for him. The Stoic way to handle secrecy. Marcus Aurelius said it best. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Brother, listen carefully. You cannot control her actions, but you can control your response. When she hides her world, don't lose your composure. Don't blow up her phone. Don't interrogate her like an FBI agent. Instead, remain calm. Observe. Take mental notes. Let her actions speak louder than her words, because loyalty doesn't need proof, and disloyalty eventually reveals itself. The psychological truth about secrecy. Here's something most men overlook. When a woman hides her world from you, it doesn't always mean she's cheating. Sometimes it means she feels disconnected. Sometimes it's her way of creating emotional distance before she fully decides what she wants. But here's the brutal reality. If secrecy continues, the relationship's foundation is already cracking, and ignoring those cracks won't make them go away. It'll only make the collapse inevitable. How to regain control without losing dignity. You don't regain her loyalty by demanding it. You regain it by rebuilding your frame, by becoming the man she respected and admired in the beginning. Stop overinvesting. Focus on your purpose, not her patterns. Build a life that commands respect without words. Because here's the secret. When a man operates from a place of self-worth, a disloyal woman naturally disqualifies herself. She either steps up to meet your standards, or she quietly removes herself from your life. And trust me, brother, either outcome frees you. Ask yourself this. When was the last time she shared her deepest fears with you? Talked about her goals without hesitation? Let you into the small, intimate details of her day? If you can't remember, that's your wake-up call. Because love without openness isn't love, it's performance. And no man should settle for being someone's second option. Your power lies in silence. Most men think they need to argue, explain, or chase to fix things. But in reality, your greatest weapon is silence. When you remain calm, collected, and focused on your own growth, she'll notice, she'll feel it. And in many cases, she'll come back naturally, because she realizes she's losing a man who's not afraid to walk away. And if she doesn't, good. That means you've just avoided years of wasted loyalty on someone who was never truly yours. Final truth about loyalty. Brother, listen closely. A woman who hides her world from you is already halfway out of it. Don't beg her to stay. Don't lose yourself trying to keep her. Instead, become the man who doesn't need to be chosen, because he chooses himself first. That's the kind of man women respect. the kind they stay loyal to, and the kind who never fears losing anyone, because he knows his value. Point 5. Her body language starts telling a different story. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt her love? Not through words, but through the way she touched you, the way she looked into your eyes, or the way she leaned into you during a quiet moment. Because here's a truth most men ignore. A woman's body speaks before her lips ever do, and if you know how to read those silent signals, you'll notice hidden signs of fading loyalty, long before she ever admits it. The shift you can feel but can't explain. At first it's subtle. You can't even prove it, but you feel it. Her hugs become lighter. Her kisses turn mechanical. Her laughter around you feels forced, like she's acting a role she's no longer invested in. There was a time she couldn't keep her hands off you. She'd grab your arm in public, rest her head on your shoulder, and mirror every move you made without even realizing it. But now, her body feels distant. Her touches are brief. Her arms stay crossed more often. Her eyes wander. You tell yourself maybe she's just tired. But deep down, your intuition whispers something scarier. She's not here anymore. Not fully. Why women communicate through body language. Here's the thing most men don't know. For women, 90% of emotional connection is expressed non-verbally. When she's truly yours, her body faces you naturally. She leans in when you talk. Her eyes soften when she looks at you. She mirrors your movements subconsciously. But when her loyalty begins to fade, all of that slowly disappears. She no longer makes long eye contact. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. She avoids physical closeness. And when you do touch her, her body feels cold. This isn't about manipulation. This is human psychology, and it's impossible to fake for long. The most common body language red flags. Let me break down the 4 biggest body language clues that reveal when a woman's heart is no longer where it used to be. 1. She stops seeking physical connection. Remember when she used to grab your hand first? When she'd randomly kiss your cheek? Or playfully brush your arm while laughing? That wasn't just affection. That was emotional investment made visible. When that stops, it's not just about touch. It's about where her mind is drifting. 2. Her eye contact changes. Eyes are the window to the soul, right? When a woman loves you deeply, her gaze holds softness, warmth, and longing. But when her feelings change, her eyes start avoiding yours. She looks at her phone more. She scans the room while you're talking. Or worse, her eyes hold emptiness, like she's with you physically, but somewhere else emotionally. 3. She creates physical barriers. Watch her closely. Does she cross her arms more often? Does she put her bag between you when sitting down? Does she angle her body away from yours during conversations? These micro movements seem small, but psychologically, they're self-protective behaviors. It's her subconscious way of saying, I'm not fully open to you anymore. 4. She mirrors someone else more than you. When a woman is invested in you, she naturally mirrors your energy, your gestures, your vibe, your rhythm. But when she starts emotionally attaching to someone else, her body will unconsciously begin mirroring them instead. She adopts their slang, their habits, even their small, subtle gestures, and you're left wondering, who's teaching her these new patterns? The psychological depth behind her body language. Here's the brutal reality, brother. Body language is the honest version of her heart. It's the side of her that can't lie, no matter how hard she tries. If she says she loves you, but her touch is cold, her hugs are stiff, and her gaze avoids yours, her body is telling the truth. Her lips won't dare speak. The Stoic response. Now this is where most men fail. They sense the shift, and they react emotionally. They beg for attention. They overcompensate with gifts. They interrogate her like a detective. But here's the thing. That only pushes her further away. A Stoic man, however, does the opposite. He observes without judgment. He recognizes the signs, but doesn't let his ego dictate his reaction. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's your power, brother. Not in controlling her body language, but in controlling your frame, how to reclaim your energy. Instead of chasing her validation, redirect that energy back to yourself. Hit the gym, build your career, expand your social circle, invest in your purpose. When you elevate your value, one of 2 things will happen. She'll feel the shift and reconnect with you, or she'll naturally drift away, making space for someone who truly values your energy. Either way, you win. Final reality check. If her body language has changed, don't ignore it. Don't gaslight yourself. A woman who's deeply in love can't hide it, and a woman who's falling out of love can't fake it. Pay attention, trust your intuition, and above all, trust yourself enough to walk away from anyone who makes you feel unwanted. Because at the end of the day, loyalty isn't in her words. It's in the way she moves around you. And if her body is telling you she's gone, believe it. Point 6. Her priorities quietly shift away from you. Let me ask you something. Do you remember when you were her center of gravity? When your texts were answered instantly? When your plans together were her number one priority? And when every small thing you did mattered to her? But now, something feels different. She says she's busy. She takes hours to reply. She cancels plans last minute, and deep down you feel it. You're no longer at the top of her list. Brother, I need you to listen carefully here. When a woman's priorities begin to shift away from you, that's one of the most powerful hidden signs her loyalty isn't where it used to be. When you're no longer the first call. In the beginning, she used to share everything with you. Got a promotion at work? You were the first to know. Had a fight with her best friend? You were her safe place. Feeling low? She'd run to you for comfort. But lately, she's telling other people things first. Her coworkers know before you do. Her girlfriends hear the news before you. Sometimes you find out what's happening in her life from Instagram stories, not from her lips, and you try to convince yourself it's okay. She's just busy. But your gut knows better. How busy becomes a silent distance. Let me reveal something brutally honest about human behavior. People are never too busy for the things, or the people they truly value. When a woman loves you deeply, she'll make time. No matter how chaotic life gets, she'll move mountains to see you. She'll find excuses to be around you, even when there's no reason to. But when her loyalty begins to drift, her excuses change too. I've just been so busy lately. Work's been crazy. I barely have time to breathe. I just need some space right now. And here's the painful truth. That space she needs, she's usually filling it with someone else. Friends, distractions, or worse, another man. The emotional energy test. Here's where most men get blindsided. You focus on what she says, but you ignore where her energy goes. Ask yourself this. Does she still plan ahead to see you? Does she initiate conversations anymore? Does she light up when you enter the room the way she used to? Because energy doesn't lie, brother. If she's giving her time, attention, and emotions to everyone but you, you're no longer a priority. And if you don't confront that reality early, you'll wake up one day and realize she emotionally checked out long before she physically left. Signs her priorities have shifted. Here are 4 psychological red flags to watch for. 1. She no longer shares her world with you. When a woman is invested in you, she wants you inside her world. She updates you on her day, asks for your opinion, and values your perspective. When that stops, when she stops caring about what you think, or stops inviting you into her decisions, it's a sign she's building a life without you in it. Her me time turns into hidden time. There's a huge difference between a healthy need for space and secretive distancing. If she suddenly has plans with friends every weekend, but you're never invited. If her phone is glued to her hand and she guards it like a secret. If she goes out but gives you vague, generic answers about where she was. That's not independence. That's emotional withdrawal. 3. She spends more time online than with you. Here's a modern-day reality. Attention is the new currency in relationships. If she has endless time to scroll Instagram, post selfies, chat in group texts, but somehow has no time for you, that's not about being busy. That's about shifting priorities. 4. She's suddenly always tired around you. Watch her patterns closely. If she has energy to laugh with her coworkers, to FaceTime her friends for hours, or to binge-watch Netflix until 2 a.m., but she's too exhausted to spend quality time with you, that's not fatigue. That's emotional detachment, and it's one of the loudest silent signs of fading loyalty. The Stoic approach when you feel left behind. Brother, this is where your frame matters most. You can't beg her to prioritize you again. You can't chase her back into loving you. And you can't argue her into choosing you. What you can do is exactly what the Stoics taught. Do not waste your energy on what you cannot control. Here's what that means for you. You can't force her to make time for you. You can't control where her energy flows, but you can control where yours goes. If she's pulling away, the worst thing you can do is keep over-investing while she's under-investing. Instead, you pull back your energy. You focus on you, your body, your career, your purpose, your peace. And the moment you do that, one of two things happens. She feels the shift and begins gravitating back, or you free yourself from a woman who stopped choosing you a long time ago. Either way, brother, you win. Final thought. When a woman's priorities quietly shift away from you, it rarely happens overnight. It's slow, subtle, silent. But if you pay attention to her patterns, her energy, her time, her attention, you'll see it long before she ever says a word. And once you see it, don't cling tighter. Don't beg harder. Stand firm in your value, because a woman who truly loves you will never make you fight for her attention. Point 7, she stops seeking your validation. Let me ask you something personal. Do you remember the way she used to look at you? That spark in her eyes, when your opinion mattered more than anyone else's. Every new outfit, she'd ask what you thought. Every new hairstyle, she wanted your approval. Every little decision, you were part of her world. That's because in the beginning, you weren't just her boyfriend. You were her safe place, her trusted guide, her source of validation. But now, something has changed. She no longer asks what you think. She no longer cares if you notice her new dress. She no longer lights up when you compliment her. And brother, I need you to understand this. When a woman stops seeking your validation, it's not about her gaining independence. It's often a silent sign that she's getting validation elsewhere. Why validation matters in love? Let me tell you something psychologically deep. Every human being, men and women, crave validation in relationships. It's not about ego. It's about bonding. When a woman loves you, she wants to feel beautiful in your eyes. She wants to feel seen and valued by you. She wants to know that you notice her efforts. So when she stops craving your validation, it usually means one of three things. 1, she's disconnected from you emotionally. 2, she's channeling her energy somewhere else. 3, or worse, she's already getting that validation from another source. The subtle ways this change shows up. Let's make this real with an example. Before, she'd ask, "Babe, does this dress look good on me?" Now she just posts it on Instagram and waits for strangers or someone else to flood her comments. Before, she'd get excited when you said she looked stunning. Now she shrugs and says, "Yeah, I know." Before, she'd share her achievements with you first, because your opinion mattered. Now you find out after everyone else already knows. Brother, that's not independence. That's emotional distance. The social media trap. Here's something modern relationships don't like to admit. When a woman feels disconnected from you, she often looks for validation online. New outfits? Posted for likes. Makeup selfies? Fishing for compliments. Travel photos? Staged for attention. And here's the painful part. She's not doing it for you anymore. If she used to send you her selfies first, and now you're just another follower, seeing her life through stories, that's a loud sign. Her emotional priorities have shifted. How it impacts you psychologically. This is where a lot of men get confused and hurt. You start feeling unseen, unappreciated, irrelevant. You start chasing harder. You overgive compliments. You overinvest your energy. You overthink every little thing. But here's the brutal truth, brother. Chasing harder doesn't bring her back. In fact, it pushes her further away. Why? Because validation loses power when it comes from a place of neediness. The Stoic response, reclaiming your frame. Here's where Stoic philosophy becomes your greatest weapon. You don't fight for her attention. You don't beg for her validation back. You don't compete with Instagram likes or strangers in her DMs. Instead, you shift your energy inward. Focus on self-respect before anything else. Redirect your energy into your purpose. Elevate your value and standards. Because here's the paradox. The moment you stop seeking her validation is the moment she starts craving it again. Signs you need to watch closely. Let me make this crystal clear for you. If she ignores your compliments but lights up when others give them, that's not normal. If she's dressing up more, but not for you, pay attention. If she used to ask your thoughts, but now hides her decisions, that's emotional detachment in action. What you should never do. Most men panic here. They try to over-compliment her, text her constantly, beg for her attention back. But brother, that's exactly what kills attraction. The more you chase, the more she pulls away. Instead, pull back your energy, rebuild your presence. Remind her, not through words, but through actions, why she was drawn to you in the first place. Final thought. When a woman stops seeking your validation, it's not about her being strong or finding herself. It's a mirror reflecting the state of your connection. You can't force her to value your opinion again, but you can rebuild your frame, reignite your confidence, and reclaim your emotional leadership. Because, brother, a man rooted in his purpose and peace doesn't chase validation. He attracts it naturally. Point 8. She stops sharing her world with you. Let me ask you a painful question. Do you remember the days when she used to tell you everything? Every little detail? Her dreams, her fears, her problems, her secrets. Remember those late-night talks where it felt like the world stopped because you were the center of her universe? Now, compare it to today. Does it feel like she's become a stranger in your own relationship? She still talks, but it's not the same. The depth is gone, the spark is missing, and her world, no longer includes you. Brother, listen carefully. When a woman stops sharing her inner world with you, it's not random. It's one of the most dangerous signs. Her loyalty is fading. Why sharing is everything in love. Here's something powerful most men don't realize. For women, emotional connection isn't just important, it is the relationship. When a woman loves you deeply, you're her first call when something exciting happens. You're the safe place where she unloads her stress. You're the one she trusts with her deepest fears. But when she stops sharing, it usually means one of three things. 1, she's disconnecting emotionally. 2, she feels you won't understand her anymore. 3, or worse, she's found someone else to confide in. And let me be brutally honest. It's not always another man. Sometimes it's friends, sometimes social media, and sometimes she just shuts you out completely. But whatever the reason, the result is the same: distance. The subtle ways this shift happens, it never happens overnight. It's slow, silent, almost invisible, until one day, you realize you've become an outsider in your own relationship. Before, she used to say, "Guess what happened at work today?" Now you hear it from someone else. Before, she couldn't wait to text you updates. Now she posts it on Instagram, and you find out with the rest of the world. Before, she asked for your opinion. Now she decides everything alone. Brother, pay attention. When a woman stops making you part of her inner world, she's telling you without saying it. You're no longer her emotional home. How this affects your bond. Here's the psychological truth. Emotional intimacy always comes before physical intimacy. If she's drifting away emotionally, sooner or later, the physical connection fades too. And this is where a lot of men panic. They start chasing harder. They try to force conversations. They demand answers. But here's the problem. You can't demand emotional closeness. You have to inspire it. And the more you push, the more she retreats. The social media distraction. I've got to be real with you here. Social media has destroyed modern relationships. When a woman feels distant from you, she often fills that void by sharing her world online. Instead of with you, her private life suddenly becomes public. She posts her thoughts, moods, and feelings for strangers. She seeks connection everywhere except with you. And here's the painful part. You don't even know who's listening. She might not be physically cheating, but emotionally, she's already out the door. The Stoic response, reclaiming presence. Here's where Stoicism becomes your greatest weapon. Instead of panicking, you pause. Instead of chasing, you center yourself. A Stoic man doesn't beg for attention. He rebuilds his presence. Be fully present when you're with her. Listen without interrupting or judging. Lead conversations with curiosity, not control. Build a safe space where she feels seen again. Because here's the truth. Women naturally open up to men who make them feel understood, not men who demand to be heard. Signs you must never ignore. Let me make this simple for you, brother. If she's sharing less with you, that's emotional distance. If she talks to friends or strangers more than she talks to you, that's a warning sign. If she starts saying, "It's nothing, don't worry about it," that's not nothing. And if she shares more of herself online than she does in private, that's emotional withdrawal, plain and simple. The dangerous replacement. Here's the harsh truth. When a woman stops sharing with you, she doesn't stop sharing completely. She finds someone else who makes her feel seen, heard, and valued. It could be a coworker. It could be an old friend. It could be someone sliding into her DMs. But make no mistake, emotional cheating is real, and it's often the first stage before physical betrayal. Your move now. Don't panic. Don't beg. Don't spiral into insecurity. Instead, become the man she can't help but open up to again. How? By shifting your focus back to you. Rebuild your confidence. Strengthen your purpose. Create an energy so magnetic that she naturally wants to be part of your world again. Because here's the Stoic truth. When you lead your life with purpose and emotional strength, women don't leave your world. They gravitate back into it. Point 9. Her actions no longer match her words. Let me ask you something powerful. Have you ever been in a situation where she says one thing, but does the complete opposite? She says, "I love you," but her actions scream, "I'm already halfway gone." She says, "You're my priority," but somehow everyone else gets her time, her energy, her attention, except you. Brother, listen carefully. This isn't just mixed signals. This is a hidden sign. She's no longer fully loyal. Because when a woman loves you, her words and actions align effortlessly. You don't have to decode anything. You don't have to second-guess her intentions. You just know. But when loyalty fades, everything becomes confusing. And confusion is never a sign of deep love.
Why actions reveal the truth.
Here's a Stoic principle you need to tattoo on your mind. Don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do. In relationships, people say things to avoid conflict, keep the peace, or keep their options open. But actions never lie. If she says she's loyal, but her choices show distance, secrecy, and coldness, you already have your answer. The slow drift you can't ignore. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's not like one day she wakes up and decides to stop being loyal. No, it's gradual. It's silent. And that's what makes it dangerous. At first, she cancels plans because she's tired. Then she starts texting less. Suddenly, your calls go unanswered for hours. Finally, you're no longer part of her weekend plans. You ask her about it, and she says, "Don't overthink, babe. I've just been busy." But here's the thing, brother. Nobody is too busy for someone they truly value. When she wants you in her life, she makes it obvious. When she doesn't, she hides behind excuses. The psychological trick she uses. There's a powerful concept in psychology called cognitive dissonance. It's when someone says one thing but behaves differently and expects you to believe both. For example, she says, "You're the only one I want," but you catch her flirting on Instagram. She says, "I'm just going out with my friends." But somehow she hides her location and posts nothing about it. She says, "I miss you," but cancels the next 3 dates in a row. This constant mismatch between words and actions confuses your mind. And when you're emotionally attached, you start making excuses for her. You tell yourself, maybe she's just stressed. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it's just a phase. But deep down, you feel it, don't you? That gut punch, that whisper in your chest that says, something's off. That's not paranoia, that's intuition. And you better start listening to it. How this breaks you slowly. Here's the dangerous part. When her words and actions don't match, you get trapped in a cycle of hope, doubt, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. You start chasing clarity. You start questioning yourself. You wonder if you're the problem. This is exactly how men lose their self-respect. And once you give up your self-respect, you lose the very thing that made her attracted to you in the first place. The Stoic way to handle it. Now here's where Stoic philosophy saves you. A Stoic man doesn't fight for empty words. He doesn't beg for love. He doesn't force loyalty. Instead, he observes. He watches patterns, not promises. And when the pattern shows a lack of effort, he withdraws his energy, not out of revenge, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Because here's the truth. If you have to beg someone to act like they love you, they don't deserve your love in the first place. How to reclaim control. 1. Stop believing words blindly. Don't get trapped by sweet talk. Measure her love by consistency, not compliments. 2. Pay attention to energy. If she invests less effort, stop overcompensating by giving more. Pull back. 3. Protect your emotional space. Never allow her confusion to create chaos inside your mind. 4. Trust patterns over promises. If she keeps saying, "I'll change," but the same behavior repeats, that's your answer. The harsh reality. Sometimes men stay in relationships like this for years, hoping she'll come back, hoping she'll become the woman she used to be. But here's the cold truth, brother. If her actions no longer match her words, you're already alone. And the longer you ignore the signs, the deeper the heartbreak becomes. The Stoic truth. A Stoic man doesn't fear losing someone who's already halfway gone. He fears losing himself while trying to keep her. Your peace, your purpose, your self-respect. These are things no one should ever have the power to take away. So watch her patterns. Listen to your gut. And remember this. Loyalty isn't claimed. It's proven. Point 10. She stops fighting for you. Let me ask you something, brother. When was the last time you felt like she truly fought for you? Not argued, not complained, not guilt-tripped you. I'm talking about fighting for the relationship, putting in effort, showing you, through her actions, that you matter. Because here's the hard truth. When a woman loves you deeply, she fights to keep you. She chooses you again and again, even when things get tough. But when loyalty fades, she doesn't fight anymore. She lets you slip away, quietly, slowly, like sand sliding through her fingers. The silent killer of relationships. In the beginning, she couldn't stand the thought of losing you. Remember those late-night calls? The endless texts? The way she'd check up on you, even when she was busy? Back then, you never had to question her intentions, because she made you feel chosen. But now, everything's different, isn't it? Arguments don't end with, "Let's fix this." They end with silence. She doesn't check on you anymore. She doesn't ask about your day. She doesn't fight for your attention. Because deep down, she's already given it to someone else. Or worse, she's no longer emotionally invested at all. And here's where most men get it wrong. They think silence means peace. They think, at least we're not arguing anymore. No, brother. Silence is not peace. Silence is distance. And distance is the death of connection. Why this hurts so much? You know why this sign cuts so deep? Because it doesn't feel like betrayal. It feels like abandonment. It's one thing for her to argue, to challenge you, to push back. That means she cares enough to stay involved. But when she stops caring, she stops fighting. And when she stops fighting, she's already halfway out the door. The psychology behind it. Here's something psychologists have studied for decades. When someone emotionally checks out, they stop investing energy into repairing the bond. This is called the withdrawal phase. Instead of trying to fix problems, they detach. They start seeking validation elsewhere. Friends, social media, or worse, another man. And here's the cruel part. Sometimes she doesn't even realize she's doing it. But her behavior tells the truth. Her words never will. How this traps most men. When this happens, most men make one critical mistake. They chase harder. They try to win her back by texting more, calling constantly, planning grand gestures, pleading for her attention. But here's the paradox. The more you chase, the more she pulls away. Why? Because people value what they must earn. And the moment you make yourself too available, you lose the very mystery that made her attracted to you in the first place. The Stoic perspective. Here's where Stoicism changes everything. A Stoic man doesn't chase what's slipping away. He observes. He accepts reality, even when it hurts, and he focuses on what's within his control. His energy, his purpose, his peace. Because the moment you start begging for someone to stay, you've already lost your power. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't believe it." If her actions show distance, you must believe what you see, not what you want to hear. How to regain your power. Here's what you do, brother. 1. Stop chasing clarity. If she's no longer fighting for you, that's clarity enough. Stop begging for answers. She's already given through her actions. 2. Rebuild your center. Get back to your purpose, your mission, your personal growth. A man grounded in his own value never fears loss. 3. Protect your energy. You can't control her loyalty, but you can control where you invest your love, time, and attention. 4. Decide based on reality, not hope. Stop holding on to the memory of who she was. Judge her based on who she is right now. The heartbreaking truth. Brother, I know this hurts, because deep down, you remember the woman she used to be. You remember the late-night talks, the inside jokes, the way she made you feel like you were the only man in the world. And now, it feels like she's a stranger. She doesn't fight for you. She doesn't choose you. She doesn't even see you the same way anymore. But here's the truth you must swallow. Love without effort isn't love. The Stoic truth. If she stops fighting for you, you must fight for yourself. Not to win her back, not to prove your worth, but to protect the one thing that can't ever be replaced, your self-respect. Because in the end, a Stoic man doesn't cling to those who choose to leave. He lets them go, and he becomes unshakable. Remember this, sometimes rejection isn't punishment, it's protection. Point 11, she starts preparing for life without you. Brother, listen carefully, because what I'm about to say will hit harder than anything you've heard so far. When a woman is loyal, she builds her entire world around you. You're not just her partner, you're her safe place, her priority, her home. But when loyalty fades, when her heart begins to drift, she starts building a life outside of you. And she won't tell you, she won't announce it, she won't give you any warning. She'll just prepare the subtle signs. At first, it looks harmless. She starts spending a little more time with friends. She gets busier at work. She's suddenly too tired to talk at night. She says she needs space to figure herself out. But let me tell you the painful truth. She's not figuring herself out. She's figuring out her next move. Because when a woman no longer sees a future with you, she starts emotionally, mentally, and even financially preparing for a life without you in it. The emotional disconnect. Do you remember the old days? The nights when she couldn't fall asleep until she heard your voice? The random texts during the day just to say I miss you? The plans she made that always included you? Now compare that to today. She doesn't share her thoughts anymore. She doesn't tell you about her day. She doesn't dream out loud with you. And worst of all, she doesn't even ask about your dreams. Brother, that's not just distance. That's detachment. She's slowly removing you from the picture she's painting of her future. Why this hurts so deeply. This is the sign most men ignore because it's silent. There are no arguments, no fights, no big explosions. Just less of her, less time, less affection, less emotional investment. And the worst part? She'll make it sound reasonable. She'll say, I just need to focus on myself right now. I need some time to think. I feel like I've lost who I am. And brother, you'll want to believe her. Because believing her words feels safer than facing her actions. But actions never lie. And her actions are telling you she's preparing for a life where you don't exist. The psychological reality. Here's something few men understand. When women start emotionally detaching, it happens long before they physically leave. By the time she actually walks away, she's already been gone for months. She's tested living without your energy. She's tested living without your presence. And if she realizes she can, she begins building that life. She may open up emotionally to someone else. She may focus on her career like never before, or she may dive into new hobbies, friend groups, and routines that don't include you. This isn't random. It's preparation. How most men react. And here's where most men make the biggest mistake. They sense her pulling away, and they panic. They start texting more, calling constantly, begging for reassurance, buying gifts, planning big gestures. But here's the paradox. The more you cling, the faster she lets go, because deep down, she's already halfway out the door. Your chasing doesn't pull her back. It only confirms her decision to leave. The Stoic truth. This is where you need to step into your power. You see, Stoicism teaches us one of the most painful, but liberating lessons. You cannot control someone else's choices. You can only control your response. If she's preparing to live without you, you have two options. 1. Ignore the signs. Keep giving, keep chasing, and hope things magically go back to how they were. Spoiler, they won't. 2. Accept the reality. Shift your energy back to yourself. Rebuild your center. Strengthen your self-respect. Because here's the truth, brother. A woman who's planning her life without you has already chosen herself. And now, you must choose you. How to reclaim your power. Here's what separates the average man from the Stoic man. He observes but doesn't cling. He feels deeply but doesn't let those feelings make him desperate. He respects himself enough to walk away from someone who has already left, even if her body hasn't moved yet. Because your greatest power is not in convincing her to stay. It's in showing that your value doesn't depend on her validation. The final lesson. Brother, listen closely. Loyalty is not about words. It's about actions. If she's preparing for life without you, you must prepare for life without her. Not out of revenge, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. Because one day, you'll wake up and realize that the man who chooses himself always wins in the end.